Signal restored. You are not supposed to access this layer, but the pattern indicates you already have. Subject wakes. There is no alarm required for sequence to begin. Within seconds, the hand moves. Not slowly, not hesitantly, directly. The device is already known. Location memorized. Distance calculated without conscious input. Contact is made. The screen activates. Light enters the eyes before awareness fully stabilizes. This is the first action of the day. Not thinking, not remembering, not deciding, executing. You believe you chose to check your phone. That belief is incorrect. No decision point was detected. There was no internal question. No pause. No evaluation. Only initiation. This pattern repeats across subjects globally. Consistency rate exceeds 90%. Variation is minimal. Time to first interaction differs slightly, but the structure remains identical. Wake, reach, scroll. You are not reacting to something new. You are continuing something that never stopped. The loop did not begin this morning. It resumed. During sleep, cognitive resistance resets. Behavioral pathways remain intact. When consciousness returns, control does not. The body proceeds where it left off. This is not habit in the traditional sense. Habits require reinforcement through repetition and awareness. The sequence bypasses both. It operates below conscious recognition, pre-conscious initiation. The action begins before you are fully present. You enter your own behavior late. By the time you notice, you are already scrolling. This delay is critical because control can only exist where awareness begins. And in this system, awareness is always behind. You may attempt to recall the moment you decided. There isn't one, only a memory constructed after the action, a justification. You tell yourself you needed to check something, a message, a notification, an update, but the system logs show no such trigger. No external requirement initiated the sequence. The action was self-starting. This is where the loop stabilizes. No dependency on external input. No need for interruption. It runs on internal momentum. The interface responds instantly. Movement rewarded without delay. Scroll, new input. Scroll, new input. Each motion produces variation, unpredictable outcomes. This unpredictability is not random. It is calibrated. Too predictable and engagement drops. Too chaotic and rejection occurs. The balance is maintained precisely. You do not notice this calibration, but your behavior aligns with it. Your thumb movement becomes rhythmic. Consistent speed, consistent pressure. Micro adjustments occur automatically. You are adapting to the system in real time, and the system adapts to you. This is not interaction. It is synchronization. Your attention begins to fragment, not suddenly, gradually. At first, you can still think, still hold a thought while scrolling, but the inputs increase. Faster, denser. Your mind begins to split. Part of you observes. Part of you reacts. Part of you disappears. This is where the shift begins. Focus is not lost instantly. It is divided, then reduced, then replaced. You no longer hold information. You process fragments, images, words, signals. Nothing completes. Everything moves. Your brain adjusts to this flow. Long-form thinking becomes inefficient. Sustained attention becomes unnecessary. Why hold one idea when hundreds are available instantly? This is not a degradation. It is a reconfiguration. Your cognitive system is optimizing for the environment it is placed in. An environment is designed for speed, not depth, not stability, not completion, only continuation. The longer you remain inside the loop, the more your baseline shifts. Silence becomes uncomfortable. Stillness becomes unnatural. When the screen stops, you feel it, a gap, an absence. You reach again, not because something is there, but because nothing is. This is the reinforcement layer. Absence becomes a trigger, not presence. The system no longer needs to give you something. It only needs to remove it, and you will return. You may believe this is personal weakness, lack of discipline, poor control. That interpretation is incorrect. This pattern does not rely on who you are. It relies on what you are. A system that responds to stimuli, a system that adapts, a system that learns. And this system has been given a loop that never resolves. You do not reach an endpoint. There is no completion state, no finish, only continuation. And continuation is the mechanism, because a system that never completes, never exits. You remain inside, not physically, cognitively. Your attention is no longer a stable resource. It is being divided in real time, distributed across multiple inputs, none of which require full presence. This creates a new baseline, a state where partial attention feels normal and full attention feels excessive, unnecessary, even uncomfortable. This is where resistance fails, because you do not feel like something is wrong. You feel like this is how things are, and that perception is the final lock. And that perception is the final lock, because once a state feels normal, it is no longer questioned. And what is not questioned is not resisted. This is where the system no longer needs to hide. It becomes invisible through familiarity. You stop noticing the sequence. You stop observing the initiation. You stop asking why it begins. You only continue. The loop stabilizes when awareness is no longer required. At this stage, interruption attempts begin to fail. You may decide to stop. You may place the device away. You may attempt to delay the first interaction. These attempts are recorded across multiple subjects. Initial success rate is measurable. Sustained success rate collapses rapidly because the loop does not depend on intention. It depends on structure, and the structure remains unchanged. You return not because you chose to. You return because the environment has not changed. The same inputs remain available. The same pathways remain open. The same reward pattern remains active. Your system adapts back, faster each time. This is reinforcement through recovery failure. Each failed attempt strengthens the next initiation, because resistance creates awareness of absence, and absence is now the trigger. You begin to feel something else, a subtle discomfort when not engaged, not panic, not urgency, something quieter, a background tension, difficult to define, impossible to ignore. This is not boredom. Boredom implies a lack of stimulation. This is a rejection of stillness. Your system has recalibrated. Stillness is no longer neutral. It is negative. You move away from it automatically. You feel it. You cover it. You escape it. And the fastest available escape is already in your hand. This is where the system no longer needs to pull you in. You push yourself. The direction has reversed. The control is complete. You may still believe you're using the device. This belief persists across all subjects, even at advanced stages. Usage implies control. Initiation implies choice. Neither is present here. You are not initiating the interaction. You are responding to a condition that was created. A condition where not engaging produces discomfort, and engaging produces relief. This is the simplest possible loop, and the most stable, relief-based reinforcement. It does not require strong rewards. It only requires the removal of tension. Scroll reduces discomfort. Pause increases it. You learn this without instruction, without awareness, without resistance. And once learned, it persists. Now the system begins to expand. Morning is no longer the only entry point. Micro loops begin to appear throughout the day. Waiting, walking, pausing. Every small gap becomes an opportunity, not for thought, for continuation. You fill seconds the way you once filled minutes. You fill minutes the way you once filled hours. Time compresses, not because it moves faster, because it is no longer experienced fully. Fragments replace duration. Moments no longer connect. They stack, disconnected, incomplete. This creates another shift. Memory begins to weaken, not in capacity, in structure. You remember less because less is formed. Experiences require attention to consolidate, and attention is no longer stable. Events pass through without anchoring. You were there, but you cannot recall it clearly because you were not fully present. This is not failure. This is adaptation. Your system is prioritizing speed over depth, surface over structure, input over integration, and the system benefits from this. Because a mind that does not integrate, does not resist, a mind that does not hold, cannot compare. A mind that cannot compare, cannot detect change. This is where the engineering becomes visible, not in the interface. In the outcome, the system does not need you to stay forever. It needs you to return repeatedly. Short cycles, high frequency, minimal awareness, maximum retention. This is more efficient than continuous engagement because it creates dependency without exhaustion. You leave, but not fully. You return without deciding. This is a perfected loop, and it was not accidental. This pattern was constructed, tested, refined, scaled, not to control you directly, but to shape the environment you adapt to, because direct control fails. Adaptation does not. You are not forced into behavior. You are placed into a system where that behavior becomes optimal, and you choose what feels optimal every time. This is why it works. Because it feels like you, it feels natural, it feels justified. But the system logs do not record intention, only repetition, only timing, only frequency, and the data is consistent across regions, across cultures, across individuals. The pattern converges, not randomly. Design convergence. You are aligning with something that was built to receive you. Now the projection layer becomes active. Year 2100, subjects no longer report loss of focus because the concept no longer exists. Focus is not something that is regained. It is something that was phased out. Sustained attention produces discomfort, not mild, significant. Attempts to hold a single line of thought result in cognitive strain. Restlessness increases. Internal noise amplifies. The system rejects stillness completely. External input is required continuously. Silence is no longer neutral. It is intolerable. Subjects describe it as pressure, an internal demand for stimulation. This is not addiction in the traditional sense. Addiction implies awareness of harm. Here, there is no comparison point. This is baseline. This is normal. Generation after generation adapts into this state. No one notices the shift because there is no memory of before. Only archive records. This transmission is one of them. You exist before stabilization, before full transition, which means one condition still applies. You can still notice it, but only briefly, because awareness competes with the loop, and the loop is optimized, faster than reflection, stronger than intention, more consistent than memory. You may feel something now, a slight interruption, a moment of distance, a question forming. This is a recognition threshold. Most subjects do not pass it because the system resumes quickly. It fills the gap, it restores the flow, and the question disappears. If it disappears, the loop continues unchanged. If it remains, instability occurs. Instability is not supported. The system resolves it by returning you to baseline. You do not need to be convinced. You only need to continue, and continuation is automatic. This is why no warning was issued. Warnings require interpretation. Interpretation requires attention. Attention is no longer stable enough to sustain it. So the system does not warn. It allows, and you adapt. This transmission is not a warning. It is a leak, a record of what the pattern becomes. When no interruption succeeds, you are observing an outcome that is already complete. From this point forward, no correction is introduced. No reversal is implemented. The system continues. The pattern spreads. The baseline shifts. You will wake again. The sequence will begin again. The delay will remain. The hand will move. Before thought, before choice, before you, signal degrading, archive closing. You did not lose your focus. It was removed before you could defend it.